Let me record, and there we go. Say good morning. It should be up in a second. It usually takes a minute or two. All righty. Good morning, ladies. How are you today?
Pretty good.
I'm excited because Elaine's on board with us.
I love that we've got Elaine here. I am so jazzed.
Well, I'm trying to remember that. I don't remember who said this to me, but they said it to me years ago, and I just remembered it. We don't have problems. We have challenges.
We have challenges.
Yes, we don't have problems. We have challenges. And a teacher never lets up on a challenge.
Well, I'm glad you said that. We're going to start out this morning by bringing attention to everybody. Happy Labor Day. And really calling out the beautiful movement of our teachers. So I'm super excited Elaine is here because I wanted to share with all of you. I got this in my inbox this morning from Brandy Weingarter, who you know is the head of the American Federation of Teachers. And she sent out a beautiful message for Labor Day. I'm not going to read all of it, but I do want to read the first two paragraphs. And shout out to anybody that's in union. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. We need stronger unions in this country. We need to support our frontline workers, our teachers, and everybody, because they really are the backbone of this nation. She writes, "This is a Labor Day like no other. Our nation is in the midst of three major crises. The United States now has more than 6 million COVID-19 cases. Our economy is showing increasing signs of weakness when it comes to working folks and Main Street, even though Wall Street just had its best month in 30 years. And racial injustice still plagues our country's soul. It's been America's workers who have been on the front line confronting these issues. And worker unions like the American Federation of Teachers and other unions have been supporting workers every step of the way. Nurses and health professionals continue to put their lives on the line to save others and keep families safe, while fighting for personal protective equipment and a federal health response that we all need. Educators who last spring basically overnight moved to remote learning and made sure that their students still got the meals and support they needed are now fighting to ensure schools reopen safely for their students and themselves. Grocery workers are keeping communities fed. Emergency workers and public employees are keeping communities running. These are the countless examples of workers going above and beyond in service in their communities and to help their neighbors, patients, and students. And sadly, many of these frontline workers have lost lives while fighting to keep others safe. Thank you for your persistence and perseverance. Thank you for caring, fighting, showing up, and hopefully this November voting." So I won't read the rest of it, but I just thought that was a really wonderful way to bring tribute to the work and the honor of today. I'm super excited. Anna, can you do a brief introduction of our guest today, Elaine?
Well, let me tell you, and this is a little personal, but I love how Elaine and I met. Elaine and I met, we both volunteered to help the Red Cross when the hurricane hit Puerto Rico and the cruise ships were bringing people back. We both volunteered to help the Red Cross, and we met each other literally in a hallway where we were kind of looking for directions going, you know, we're here, we want to help, what do we do? Which is the story of me in the beginning all the time. I'm here, I want to help. What do I do? Guide me. And so Elaine, with her protest bag, which we will hear about, which is the signature of Elaine Kahn, was like, "Come here, honey, follow me." By the time that day was over, I told her, I said, "We are going to be friends for life. That I love you, and I know that we're going to be friends for life. I am like fungus, and it's hard to get rid of me. And
Well,
Elaine and I think, well, we chat like every day or every other day for years now because of that. And I love her. She is a wealth of knowledge. I have watched this woman literally climb on top of posts,
Yeah.
protesting, Trump. I have marched with her. I have written I mean, everything. This woman is been doing this for years and has a wealth of knowledge that as a retired teacher, she's always teaching.
Yes.
and I just also want to take a moment of privilege and just say that I am also very grateful that you are so active in your retirement and you're still fighting for children, and you're still, honestly, I'm gonna get teary-eyed because Elaine, you really show up every single day for people that don't know you, whether it's, the protests that Anna mentioned. You're very vocal on social media. I'm so honored and so proud of the work that you do. And when you said you wanted to come on, I'm so hopeful that folks will listen to your passion and commitment and understand that it takes all of us. And in your situation, I mean, you could be off in retirement, not paying attention to anything, and you're still fighting for kids. So I have to ask you, how are you doing? Number one, I want to make sure, I want to find out how, because we haven't talked in a while, find out how you're doing. And also, what do you recommend for folks to do right now?
Okay. Well, this is my retirement volunteer job. Because if you're a teacher for 40 years, kids are part of your DNA. I don't have any children of my own. I don't have any grandchildren of my own, but I have thousands of kids. And when I told a gentleman in Wendy's several years ago to quit picking on that girl because she was my kid, and I'm an old white woman, and she was a young black girl. We had a discussion, and I told him in the end, if he was worried about losing his job, he should have come earlier. You're not going to pick on my kids. Every kid is my kid. And those are really the people I like to talk to. Because what I did the last campaign is I had a big button, and I put it white tape over it, and I said, voting questions, ask me. And I carried around a folder with the web address of the Broward Supervisor of Elections and the phone number. And then on the other side, I had pages of Hillary's platform. So if somebody asked me a question, I could just find the answer. And sometimes I would partially give the answer, especially if it was a young teenager, because you have to know your audience. Are part of your DNA. I don't have any children of my own. I don't have any grandchildren.
Oh, we're hearing the backbeat. I think you have it on, Lori.
Oh, sorry. All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So anyway, because you teach so many different kids, and you have to zoom in on so many different learning styles when you're teaching, you have to know your audience. So this is a couple examples. There was a young girl working in the deli at Publix, and I just knew she had young children. So I started to talk to her about daycare, because I knew that was my hook. And then I was at Racetrack gas station the one time, and I saw this young kid stacking shelves. And I asked him if that's what he wanted to do with the rest of his life, and he said no. And I said, do you want to go to college? He said yes. I said, listen, you need to listen to this about Hillary's college ideas. So I'm going to do the same thing with Joe Biden and Kamala. Talk about their issues. But see, I couldn't remember everything now. So I made a folder, and I put those things. And then if they wanted to know information from the Supervisor of Elections, I could give them that sheet of paper, and they could walk away with it, something in their hand. I would go to Festival Flea Market. When I went to Publix, I would put that on top of my purse in my cart so everybody could see it, and they could see that button that says voting questions, ask me. And that's what I'm doing again this year.
I love, Elaine, that you and I are simpatico, because as a marketeer my whole life, my profession, when you say meet people where they're at, I think that's really a big problem that a lot of people don't understand. They just want to talk about their issue and their concerns and their fears and their angst. And you're absolutely right. Before you can have this conversation where we're together, we have to meet people where they're at. And so I love that story of you. Tell again what happened. You went to 7-Eleven and you saw him.
I saw a young kid stacking shelves, and I knew that's not what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. So I said that to him. I said, do you want to do this for, you want to? And he had just been registered and he had no idea who to vote for. And I said, do you want to do this for the rest of your life? I knew the answer was going to be no. And he said, no. And I said, would you like to go to college and we'll help you? Yes. So that was my hook to get him. And he said he was voting for the first time and he was going to vote for my candidate. But you have, like I said, and if you can't target them, you ask them, what's important? What's the most important thing to you? Because you don't want to have a long dissertation. Let's get them on the one most important thing to them. And then talk about that and how we're going to fix it.
And I also love that you carried information with you, that if you didn't have the answers or you knew where to point them. Just so you know, Elaine, if you remember one thing, and we're telling everybody out there, you can always go to browardforprogress.org/vote. And we have a summary there of all the information people need: their voting location, their hours, request their vote by mail ballot. They want to update. If they go to browardforprogress.org/vote, they'll be able to pull that information down. But equally as smart is carrying resources with you. That is just brilliant, Elaine. Really smart.
I did carry the early voting things with me, and I did carry something about vote by mail too. I'll have to get my folder out. But
that is brilliant.
Because I can't remember I don't know why, but I can't remember everything.
No, none of us can. Thank you so much. I'm just so, and one other question that I have for you, why do you think you are so, because you're a rock star, what is it within you that you just have to get up every day and fight on these issues? What is it that motivates you?
Well, first of all, it's the way my parents raised me. I just was they were always trying to help people. And I went to my first protest at my first semester of college because they were going to tear down this old main building, and we wanted to stop it because they were going to put in a parking lot. And so we started picketing, and my mother saw me on the local news. She said, what are you doing? I just sent you to college. So I said, this is really important. And I haven't stopped since. In fact, one time when we went up to Mar-a-Lago, a couple of reporters started asking me questions because I talk loudly because I want people to hear me. And they came over and asked if they could interview me. Why are you here? And I love to talk. So that's it.
I love that. Well, don't stop being quiet.
One of the beautiful things that I admire about Elaine, and this is like where our unsung heroes, she's one of our unsung heroes. Every single day she gets up and makes phone calls. There's not a day in the past, how many years, that she hasn't gotten. Tell them what you do, Elaine, because you are truly a daily, you're just an unsung hero.
Well,
there's a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, it just depends on what I'm in that mood that day. But I've been doing this for so long. And I have time to go to the beach when this country is back in order, because I love to go to the beach. But I just can't do it now because then I couldn't sleep at night. What about all those kids? They're too important. Those kids are too important. And I have two my niece has two girls, and they're in their early 20s, and I want a future for them. And if I don't do it, who's going to do it? Everybody else?
And
I'm putting
you
that
call our
on.
senators every day, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You have them on your phone.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's part of my morning routine. I have Marco Rubio's phone numbers, Senator Scott's phone numbers, and our Governor DeSantis. I have all their contact phone numbers in my contacts on my phone. So as I'm drinking my coffee or right after I drink my coffee, I just start tapping on those contacts and make my phone calls. Sometimes I blow off their ears.
I love that. I'm sharing. It's probably too small for people to see, Elaine. You probably are not seeing this, but I've been pulling photos of you and posting them up there so people see how beautiful you are. I saw on your post while you were mentioning why you fight so hard, a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that I also love this quote, and it says, it was on your timeline. It says, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." Can I ask you, Elaine,
Yeah.
what do you think of folks that are being quiet right now?
I don't know, because I don't understand them. I don't know. Well, first of all, I think they're kind of intimidated by Trump people because they can get so rude. And they get into name calling and stuff. And some people would just as soon go on their way and know that they're not going to convince that person. So why bother? You just get all hot and bothered. Please, I had a big discussion with a neighbor of mine that wouldn't wear a mask. And I told her how disappointed I was in her because she didn't care about her neighbors. But anyway, some people don't like to get into things like that because if the person you're talking to gets huffy and puffy, they get intimidated. Well, see,
Why aren't you? Yeah, I'm going to say, why aren't you intimidated?
Because I try to be. In fact, I got a friend from British Columbia a while ago because I try to stay calm. Yelling back at them is not going to make any friends. You try to use some facts, which they'll go against. And then I usually go to my fallback, which is character. As a Christian, my first character trait of a leader is their character. If I can't see any character or respect any, I can't be for that person. That's the most important thing to me. If you're not empathetic, if you don't care about other people, I just can't be for you. In fact, I had a conversation with an evangelical one time about his children not being able to watch the president on TV. Mm. How can he be teaching his two boys Christian values when there's the president saying stuff like that? He didn't know what to say.
Yeah, it's really shameful to think that a lot of evangelicals and even Catholics, I'm very disappointed as a Catholic that, priests are out there, saying that Trump is, all of this. It's very shameful that they're picking and choosing parts of the Bible or, whatever fits for them, because this, as you said, is not a good character,
Right. It's not a good reputation of America.
No, it's not. And question for you, Anna. What do you think of people that are silent right now?
I think that's quite the privilege. I think those that remain silent are somehow benefiting, whether they know it or not. And in order to speak out, you have to be willing to also accept the repercussions that come with it. No, everybody's not going to like you. No, you're not going to be popular. No, you might ruffle feathers at work. I mean, yes, you might ruffle feathers at work. This is what I go to every morning and this is literally what I think of every single day, every single email I pull up, anything that I do is I remind myself, why am I fighting? For me, it's my child's life. And if I don't fight for my child's life, who will?
That's right.
Who will?
I will.
I know you will, Elaine, and I love you. You know how much I love you.
Well, and I just wanted, to your point, kind of tie the two things that both of you said. Elaine was talking about fear of people, and you mentioned it as well. People maybe are afraid to say something. They're afraid to be yelled at or put down or all of that. I personally am not afraid of these crazy Trumpers and, you know, all of this. I'm more afraid, my big fear is my child grows up in a fascist state. I am afraid that she will not have the right to love who she wants, that she will not have the right to choose her religion that she wants, that she will lose her right to freedom of speech. She will lose her opportunity to, you know, justice system. I understand we have a lot of issues in our country, but I have to believe in my heart that what I'm fighting for is a lot better than the downhill slope towards fascism.
It's you have to, at least I couldn't live with myself if I didn't fight. I remember, you guys know, but a lot of people may not know, my daughter had a liver transplant when she was 1. We waited 8 months for her to get the chance of life. And I, too, am a Catholic, and I prayed to God every single day to take my last breath and give it to her. If he could just take whatever was left of my life. This was me negotiating with God, and I know that's not how it works, but when you're watching your child dying, you will negotiate
Everything.
So I would literally pray. I say, I don't care how many years I have left, just take them from me and give them to her. When you're watching your child struggle to breathe, when you're watching your child fight for their life, you realize really quick what's important.
Right.
And whether people like me, I mean, I don't want to sound like a total bitch. I don't think I am, but maybe I am. My goal is not to have people hate me, but if you don't like me, that's okay, because you know what? I'm fighting so my child can live. And if you understand that, then we're at an impasse that we will never go past, because that is the most important thing in my life. And I have watched the struggle that she went through, and that is a microcosm of what this country is going through. And if you can watch people suffer and look the other way and not do anything, that is a privilege. That's a privilege that many don't have. And frankly, that says more about you than anything else. I think Trump is the problem. He's the tumor, but the cancer is there. Yeah. And you have to decide, are you part of the problem, or are you going to fight against it? Because it's not just not being part of the problem. You need to work against it.
Yeah. And I think that's I thank you for bringing that up. And for many people, we keep saying this, the work doesn't stop with Trump not getting a second term, right? We still have a lot of work to get rid of people who enabled him, who encouraged him. You know, Marco Rubio, Senator Rick Scott, Ron DeSantis, all of his enablers in the state of Florida, and there's so many, it's a long list. We still have to work on that. And we've got to help people find their voice to speak out against this injustice. I'm grateful, though, that if anybody's on the front lines, it's you two beautiful women. I'm so happy to be like, we're gonna fight hard. You know, we're gonna keep putting it out there every single day. I know that you got our back, Elaine, and we got your back as well.
Well, I want to be able to go to the beach sooner or later. See, this is,
yes.
I'm really selfish. Yes. I'm doing this because I'm selfish. Because I
can't have to shave my legs, Elaine, so I don't know how much of a hurry I'm in.
I tell you, we get through this and we survive and we get rid of 45. We're doing a big beach bash for sure.
On COVID.
And I was starting to tell you before, part of what I try to remember is to be calm when I speak to people, because I made a friend. She had a friend request. She's from British Columbia, because she said, I like the way you're so respectful and so calm when you talk to people who of a different persuasion and who believe other things than you. Because if you start yelling back at them, you've lost them.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yes.
you've done that to me too. You have many times throughout the years, you have, messaged me privately and said, I don't think that what you did was right, or not like horribly right, but I look at it from this perspective. And I appreciate that every single time, because
that's a gift, Elaine. There's a lot of people that you're absolutely right. And that's something that all of us need to work on,
Not easy.
It's not easy.
and
It's
you're
really hard.
on the line.
Also,
How do you know, Elaine, when you realize at the point of no return, there's no point in continuing this conversation? At what point do you sort of cut the cord?
when they start yelling at me with crazy things. Really, they start telling me things that are not true, and I say, that's not true. And then I say it again and again, and I say it a few times, and then I like, well, and then I try to leave it like, well, we're just going to have this difference of opinion. So let's stop the conversation now. I try to stop it instead of letting them rant on, because I know there's a point where I've lost them, and there's no sense in going on, but you don't want to end it on a rude tone. Because then they'll never remember anything you said.
You're always a teacher.
Plus, when I'm talking to elderly people, because I called a lot of people from Winmore, God bless their hearts, they could hardly hear what I said. And they would apologize for not being able to volunteer. And so my closing with them was, are you going to vote? And they'd say yes. And I'd say, well, that's the most important thing you can do for me. Thank you. Because not everybody can volunteer. People are working. I had a lot of working people I would call, and they didn't have time. And I said, I know you have to earn a living and take care of your kids. I understand that. But are you going to vote? Yes. I said, then that's it. That's what we need the most. Your vote is more important than $1 million.
I'm just so grateful for you. I'm grateful for both of you. We're going to go ahead and wrap up, because we try and keep this under a half hour or so. So grateful you took time on Labor Day. You're still fighting for your children, Elaine, even though you're a retired teacher. God bless you. God bless all of our teachers, especially in Florida. Oh, Lord. Thank you so much for coming, joining us this morning and sharing your wisdom and your insight. And thank you for everything that you continue to do for Florida.
You're welcome. It's my volunteer retirement job.
Well, we're grateful for you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye, Lori. Bye, Anna.
Bye.